mostly on the behavior of a farm aquatic animal, and currently I work on fish and crustacean mostly. And from the part aspect of behavior, I work mostly on the sensory biology and the physiology of the animal. And at the same time, I also work in the aquaculture nutrition. So basically, I study how the animal or aquatic animal, they perceive the environmental stimuli. And then I utilize that knowledge to improve aquafeed development. So in case you are interested with my research, you can visit to my ResearchGate or Google Scholar. All right. Yep. All right. Just now I did enjoy the sharing from Prof. Andrea. It is very scientific. And today's in my contents about mariculture in tourism. And I was told that today's participants are not all of them from the field. Therefore, I try to make these presentations slightly easier, right? So first of all, this is today's content, and I would like to share with you a little bit what is mariculture and what is tourism, which means how can we define tourism, and what is mariculture tourism and what can mariculture tourism offer. And if we are going to practice mariculture tourism, what are the conflicting elements so far? Right. All right, mariculture. So I believe aquaculture words is not, alienate to everyone. So when we change the aqua at the front to mari, which means mari stands for marine, and culture means cultivated. So it is involving in culturing sea animals. And perhaps I'm not sure, do you realize that what's the difference between mariculture and capture fisheries? So capture fisheries are mostly more on harvesting from the sea, all right, all the fishing and everything, but we do not talk about culturing. So aquaculture is served as an alternative to capture fishery. When we talk about capture fishery, means we harvest from the sea, everything. But when we come to aquaculture, we try to produce it. That's the difference. We try to produce it. Therefore, it is an alternative. And so far, due to the food demand, aquaculture has been one of the fastest growing industry sector in the last 50 years. Right? Of course, we during this COVID, perhaps a little bit slowed down, but I believe that it is still one of the fast growing industry at the moment. Right? So for mariculture, this is a definition, a very clear one. So I'm very sorry because I put the very long words. I'm afraid that in case there's a internet or network broke down, at least you can have a read. All right, so it's defined as a culture of the marine organism, both plants and animals in an aquatic medium or environment which may be completely marine or seawater mixed with the various degree of freshwater, which means brackish.
Dr. Lim.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I think that I think everyone haven't seen the screen or your presentation. Do you share any of it?
Sorry, can you see now?
No, we still haven't seen your presentation.
Oh, hold on.
Nakuha gamitin internal na ito.
No, we still haven't seen.
Ano bayad natin? 4 gigabyte, 64 RAM 6. Ano bayad natin?
Okay, can you see now?
Setting.
Yes, but I think we see. Okay, we can see it now.
Now, okay, sorry.
Oh, thank you.
Right.
Thank you so much.
I think maybe halfway it broke up. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it from the beginning or suddenly it stops?
No, it's in the definition slide.
All right.
Right now.
Okay. I think it suddenly broke down just now. Okay. All right, now the slide can be seen, right?
Right, we can see it right now. Thank you so much, Dr. Lim.
All right, sorry for the disruption. All right, I think yeah, as long as it's a culture in marine or a brackish water, it is considered as a mariculture, and even it can be a salt or freshwater organism, or at least the animal they have a developmental phases in both type of water. It can be considered as a kind of a mariculture as well. Right. All right, so this is a report of from FAO Sofia 2020. This is the estimation from them, comparison between the global capture fisheries and aquaculture productions. So you can see here in they have the estimation in 1990s to 2030. So if you can see the yellow bar, the yellow line, it is the total capture fisheries. So capture fisheries is already up to the maximum at the moment, and there's no way that we can get furthermore. Therefore, with the increasing of human populations and demanding for food, aquaculture is needed. And so far, that's why aquaculture has been started in 1990s, and it is expected to project through very high until 2030 to support to break the limit and supply more food for human consumption at the moment. And the mariculture has a very specific purpose. So this specific mariculture purpose is actually we want to produce protein, rich, nutritive, and very tasty, palatable for human, and benefiting the whole society through plentiful food supply at a low or reasonable cost. So these are the local restaurant view of a local restaurant, of course, before the COVID. All right, I took this picture, and you can see these are the very delicious sea bass. Sorry, it's a grouper, steam. Okay, hold on. And here, other than producing food, actually from through aquaculture, we'll be able to produce a new species and strengthening the stock of existing fish in the nature and man-made water bodies through artificial recruitment and transplantations. So one of the most successful story from our university is regarding the hybrid grouper. In 2006, we able to produce the hybrid grouper, the hybrid of the tiger grouper and the giant grouper, and it becomes a hybrid grouper, which we call it as a tiger TGGG. So this is a female, this is a male fish, and sorry. Okay, this is the female fish, this is a male fish. So the reason why we put this is this tiger grouper, it had eggs. They're easily to get eggs, but their growth are very slow. And then a giant grouper, they can grow very fast, but at that time we don't have eggs, I mean female, because a grouper, they are hermaphrodites. At the young stage, they will mature as a female. And when they grow until certain size or certain ages, they will change sex to male. So in the hatchery, it is very difficult to produce giant grouper, which is have a growth, faster growth. But for tiger grouper, they can easily get eggs because of female. So in order to produce a species that can grow faster, so that everybody can culture in a shorter times, we try the hybrid grouper and we succeeded. And these fish are currently widely produced, and you can easily seen in the restaurant and in the market. Right? Of course, other than the food fish and produce a better species for aquaculture for food purpose, aquaculture also used for the production of sport fish and support to recreational fishing. All right. So these are some of the example. I couldn't get in local, there are some examples, but unfortunately, I couldn't get a good photo from that. So I took from, these are the source of the photo, indoor recreational fishing, right? So they put the throat inside and the anglers, they can try to fish, all right, fishing. And this is the indoor stream fishing in Hong Kong. So all these animals are produced from the farm and then they release into the pond for the angling purpose. So other than the fish itself, we also need to provide bait fish for commercial and sport fisheries, right? Bait fish and also the food for the animal, which means the food that we need to use to feed our animal, all right? And of course, production of marine ornamental organism. It is a kind of mariculture as well for the marine species. So all of us know that coral bleaching is one of the major problems now due to the climate change. So a lot of researchers have been started to artificially reproduce corals indoor, although the process is quite complicated, but yes, some of there are many successful examples. And nemofish, so that producing nemofish through mariculture, we can reduce the pressure of fishing from the wild. Otherwise, for aquarium, for many purpose, fishermen always harvest this fish from the wild and sell to the for exhibitions. All right. So to reduce that, we able to mass produce nemofish. And for another very popular one is the neocardinal shrimp. These shrimps, they are very colorful, easy to take care, and this one they go through the brackish life cycle, right? So can be considered as a kind of mariculture as well. And of course, mariculture at the same time, we utilize the land and aquatic resources that we have to generate a macroeconomic point of view, so that to help the society, right? Otherwise, some of the, for example, this is a lake that has been connected with the seabed, not seabed, sorry, near to the sea, coastal area. And this is the mangrove area. This one is a oyster or mussel culture over here. Oops, sorry. Okay. And of course, the most important thing is to provide sustenance and earning livelihood and the monetary profit through commercial and industrial aquaculture. We can help the small scale farmers and to produce the food, and at the same time they can earn some money. So this is an example of the lobster fattening. They usually harvest from the wild and then they keep in the cage and then they feed until certain size and then they sow it. And while this one is a mussel culture, they just have to get put in the rope during the spat fall season, and they just have to wait. And in the end, they will get this harvest. And of course, this is a soft shell crab production, okay, mud crab. So in mariculture, usually selection of species are very important. As we mentioned earlier, mariculture, the purpose is to produce something that for food and also for ornamental and to help, especially small scale farmers, to earn some money for their livelihood. So during the mariculture selection of species, we need to select those with a high commercial value and high market demand, which is a local or international. And then it's very dependent on region. Certain area they have this, they are popular with this species, while certain area in different. So we need to select it carefully. And of course, the competitions, whether a lot of people are doing this fish or not, nobody producing, something like that. And the species and the crustacean species, right? So for example, in ornamental area, there are many fish, there are many people producing a certain species because it's very easy, but certain species, they might be a little bit challenging, but it will fetch a higher price. So you may try to work on that so that you can get a better profit, something like that. Right. All right. What I would like to share with you is more focusing on the mariculture fish species in Malaysia. And in Malaysia, we not really have very much species of marine fish. Usually it comes to groupers and the barramundi, or we call the Asian sea bass here. And then the snappers and the pompano. We have most cultured species in Malaysia. So in mariculture, if we're going to do full cycle, which means we don't just caught the fish and come back and put in the pond or tank, and then we try to culture them until certain size and then we sow. So that one is actually considered as a kind of capture fisheries, still capture fisheries, right? So what we aquaculturists do or mariculture, we try to get the stock from the wild. So for example, you can see here broodfish. Broodfish are referring to the parental fish, the female and the male. Take good care of them, and then we egg collections. Right, egg collections can be either through natural method or artificial method, and then we conduct larva rearing, and then we come to juvenile rearing, and a juvenile means seed. So in here we can actually sow it for business, or we can grow out to table size. Table size can be sold in the restaurants, and finally, if not, we will get the fish back as a broodstock. All right. So even in here, you can see a lot of a business opportunity, not only juvenile and grow out. You can also have a larva. You can sow your larvae. You can sow eggs as well. Right. So these are some of the practice in our university. This is in our fish hatchery in UMS, our university, BMRI. What we have is this broodstock tank for groupers and sea bass, and we set up the net for the natural egg collections. The fish will spawn, the egg will float, and we use the water current to trap the eggs inside the egg collection net. Right. This is one example of the natural spawning, egg collection through natural spawning. All right, so for artificial spawning, we usually select broodfish. So, sorry, this broodfish is this is a giant grouper. We carry in a cage. So during the selection, we check for their maturation, right? Whether they have sperm or eggs. And these are the tiger grouper in our broodstock tank. This we try to, sorry, why it keeps on auto moving, right? These are the selections. And then we try to bring out the fish. These are our hatchery staff and students. And then checking the body of the broodfish to check for their maturation. And we do hormone injection, HCG. There are many types of hormone. We can use HCG, LHRA, overplant, and many types. Right? I'm not going to explain this one. So just an example from here. And then after the injections, we will keep on from time to time checking the gonad maturation of the fish. Sorry, this is a female fish. We need to get the egg sample. We call this a cannulation. This requires a very high specific skill of technicians so that we do not destroy the gonad of the fish. And then once the egg is ready to be strapped out, we collect the sperm from the male fish. This is a sperm collector. This is a part that we can suck. Then the semen will be sucked into this container. Right? And then we collect the eggs from the female fish through stripping. And then we mix the egg and the sperm together and washing. And finally, we wash and incubate inside the tank. Right. Then we will observe the eggs development. under the microscope from time to time. Right? So these are the formation of the larvae. So this is one of my study during my master degree. I study on the fish and the sensory organ development and the behavioral changes of the tiger grouper. So from the newly hatched, from 1 day old hatching, 10 days post hatching, 15 days, 20 to 25 days, 30 and 40 days and 50 days. So we can see the development of the fish of a grouper, right? So please bear in mind, these are very important thing when it comes to tourism, yeah? So other than, just now is the example that I show for you in the hatchery, but actually we can culture fish or mariculture in many facilities. This is in sea cages. This is not from our university. I took it from the internet, right? I do not. We do not have the cage facility in here, so you can see that in the middle of the sea they set this round cage, right? Set in the net and the how to say the net, the canvas, all right, and to collect the eggs. So you can see that this is the fish in here. Sorry, I cannot see if there's any message. This is the fish they kept in the net. Then after the fish spawn, they will remove the fish and keep only the canvas. And then they will slowly harvest the floating eggs from the canvas. Yeah. So they bring the eggs to here and they check on under the microscope. Okay. These are one of the example of a cage in the marine in the cage, on the cage, sea cages. Right? And then other than sea cages for the broodstock, larva rearing usually was done in the hatchery. So in hatchery, you can see that we have a lot of tanks and a cement pond. And this is a pond using the fiberglass. I took this picture in 2006 in one of the private hatchery, Kansai Busang in Japan. I have my internship over there. So you can see they produce this red sea bream, one of the marine fish in very popular marine fish in Japan. So this company is very successful. They're able to produce a mass production of this fish. Okay. So you can see under the water, the fish are swimming very fast. So in Malaysia so far, since we are especially in Borneo, grouper is one of the popular fish. So I would like to share what kind of grouper usually we can find in here. And one of these is a mouse grouper, but this fish at the moment is very difficult to find anymore. So the market price 500 per kg probably will be, at the moment will be higher perhaps, because at the moment in Sabah or in Borneo, I'm not including Indonesia. I believe in Indonesia somebody else is still producing, but in Sabah this fish is almost nobody producing anymore because it's very difficult and it grows very slow. Right? So for the giant grouper at the moment, Sabah or Malaysia is not able to produce yet. So far for this fish, only Taiwan able to produce full cycle from the eggs. So this one at the moment around 250 before the COVID. At the moment, the latest price I'm not quite sure. Right? So in Malaysia, these fish are still mostly harvest from the wild, or we purchase, the local farmers purchase the eggs or the seedlings from Taiwan for grow up, right, in Malaysia. And this is the orange spotted grouper. This is a cheaper grouper and it's very common, especially in our peninsular Malaysia as well. And then the coral trout. Coral trout previously has been harvested mostly from the wild. And slowly there are some farmers trying to produce, but not that much. And these are the coral trout as well, but the various species. All right, the leopardus and the maculatus. And then in our hatchery, for research purpose, the only one that has been very successful for commercial purpose is the hybrid grouper, I think in Indonesian called the kerapu canteng. And the rest for the research purpose, we do able to successfully produce another cross. For example, these are the mouse grouper crossed with the tiger grouper. This fish is not available in the market, only for research purpose. And the orange grouper crossed with the giant grouper. I think this one, some has a commercial value, and this one as well. Right, so these are the, in our hatchery, when we successfully produce, these are the seedlings. Okay. Other than groupers, we have the siakap or selongsong or kakap. This one is a very general marine fish to all the families in Malaysia because due to their lower price. Yeah, this one is one of the pond culture of Asian sea bass. I took this photo in Penang, Pulau Pinang, in our peninsular Malaysia. So they're able to produce, you can see it's quite easy to produce. That's why the price is quite low, but it's an affordable fish for everyone. Yeah, that's good. So other than that, we have a snapper species, not so much, but the common one that you can see is a red snapper, emperor, and the hoi tai kai. Hoi tai kai long time ago is very popular, but now is getting lesser and lesser. So other than fish species, we also have crustaceans, mud crab, the Styla species, SPP. So mud crab, they go through a very high, very complex life cycle. So for example, in here, juvenile, sub-adult, from the mangrove or brackish area, they will migrate to the open sea for spawning. After that, the larvae will grow and slowly they will migrate back to the mangrove area again. So in this case, how do we produce it in the hatchery? Okay. So these are the produce from, these are the source, the article that for this paper, for this figure. So you can see that hatch egg, zoya, larvae, zoya 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stage, and then become a megalopa, and finally become a crablet. So that you can see that all these stages are very unique, especially for people that never seen or not in the field, okay? Not in the aquaculture field before. So for these are mainly the soft shell crab facilities. So after they produce the crab become big, and then they will put it in the cages to grow them and to produce soft shell crab. So usually if you can see it like this, they put it in the bucket like this. Other than crab, we have monodon, bename, the black tiger prawn, and the white leg shrimp. These are very common. I believe everyone ate this before. So for shrimp as well, we also have a very complex culture method or procedure. So we need to keep the broodstock in the maturation tank 4 to 5 months. This one is from the, these are the, if you want to know more about the culture method and the life cycles, you can go to this website. Right? So after culture there, they will do spawning, and then again it's the same. You will go to eggs. After eggs, you will go to larva rearing. When they're growing bigger, you have to move them to the larger pond, and based on certain what size of shrimp that the customer wants, we can harvest them, right? 15 to 25 or 11 grams to 20, right? So I believe Indonesian is very successful in shrimp culture as well. This is one of the example of a shrimp pond. One of these ponds can be one of the football field, and here are the propeller to generate the aeration or to increase the dissolved oxygen in the water. So I put it here as because it is very difficult for us to know that whether these species, they are very high price or not if we are going to export it. Of course, before the COVID, export is most popular, but at the moment, probably the food mostly will supply to the local. But if you want to know how much is a species have been listed in one of the most popular live fish trade market in Hong Kong. Hong Kong, I think everyone knows, is one of the most live seafood trading place. So you can go to this website, okay, and then you can check the date, and then you can type and see what kind of species has been listed there for the demand of this very huge seafood market. Right? So for example, the marble grouper, the highest price can go up to 370, the lowest 170, something like that. All right. But of course, this one are in Hong Kong dollar. So you can imagine if the 370 Hong Kong dollar, this one is in 21st of August. I took this conversion, this price, all right? So you can see that in Hong Kong market, the seafood, especially the live one, they can sell for very high price. Okay. All right, up to here, may I know if anyone have any questions? The previous part is roughly a brief introduction about mariculture. So let me wrap up a little bit. So mariculture, of course, is the culture of the marine or brackish animal. The purpose is for food, and then ornamental, and also to help the farmers to gain some living, okay, to earn a living. So to culture this animal, as they have a very different stage of a lifestyle. So in order to culture them, we need different type of facilities. Okay, different type of facilities. And those animals, when they're going through different life stages, they have a very different morphology. Perhaps some of you that may not in the aquaculture will never seen that before, isn't it? Right? So some sort looks like an alien. So how can all these things contribute to tourism? Okay. So before I go to the second part, which is the tourism part, if anyone have any questions, or we prefer the question at the end of the presentation.
Okay, once again, everyone, maybe you have a question for Dr. Lim. You can use a raise hand feature for now. Okay, Dr. Lim, maybe we can move the Q&A session at the end of the presentation.
All right, so thank you. All right, so now I come to the second part, which is the tourism. Okay, so when we put mariculture in tourism, we can estimate that what kind of things that we would like to share with our tourists, right? So before we go to the mariculture and tourism, let us have a look what is called as a tourism. Right? So in tourism, it's been defined by the encyclopedia. It is called as traveling to or staying in places outside of their usual environment for not more than one consecutive years and not less than 24 hours. And the purpose is for leisure, business, or others. All right. So as long as you travel to one place and you stay more than 24 hours and you are going for leisure or business or any purpose that you want, it can be considered as tourism. Okay. So at the moment, if you check online, there are many types of tourism at the moment you can claim. So the very simple one, those domestic. All right, so you can go around your nearby, or international, travel around, outbound, which means you stay outside for some time, We go out for business, some go for adventure, to visit or have a look of wildlife, or even to enjoy, or you go for treatment at the same time outside the country or somewhere else that you've never been before. Wellness and pilgrimage, cultural, even dark. Anyone knows what is a dark tourism so far? Okay, perhaps dark tourism is the tourism that they have the hunting, ghost hunting house or somewhere that is not so pleasant, but some people, they would like to visit such kind of place. They would like to stay in a ghost haunted house, for example. Right? So this kind we call as a dark tourism. Culinary, go for tasty food, celebrity or film, educational, cruise, and rural, and many, many more, right? So you can see that actually there are many types of tourism. So when we talk about mariculture tourism, so we can see that actually we can share all this whatever that we are currently doing in mariculture, the facilities, the animals, what to do, everything of this, if we're able to share with our tourists for them to gain some knowledge, and then we can consider it as a mariculture and tourism. Okay? And mariculture tourism can be considered as a kind of sustainable tourism by the Sustainable Development Goal, and it has been categorized in the 14th goal, the 14th goal, life below water. And at the moment, this kind of tourism has been putting effort to increase the scientific knowledge, research, and technology to protect the ocean, marine environment, and small-scale fishes. At the moment, these are the efforts that we want to achieve, right? As a sustainable tourism, we believe that mariculture tourism able to protect oceans and marine environment and to help the small-scale fishes, as I mentioned earlier. But at the moment, defined by the committee, at the moment, our effort is still not enough, all right, to protect the resources and to help them. So actually in here, let us have a look what kind of things or interesting thing that we can offer to a tourist. Okay, so for example, our knowledge in seafood productions. As a mariculture, we're trying to produce food for human, right? So a lot of people probably will not so much appreciate, because they don't really realize how the seafood has been produced, right? So through this mariculture tourism, we're able to share the knowledge on the biological requirement, the life stage, the culture methods, and what are the problems with the tourists, so that they can understand and they will have a higher appreciation for the seafood. And then at the same time, we can disseminate the awareness on environmental conservations. Okay, so in this part, we can disseminate to the tourists why we need to produce our own seafood. All right. And of course, during the visitations, they will have an interaction experience for the tourists. So for example, when we are culturing fish, we need to produce the feed pellet, right? Or we need to feed the fish, or we need to harvest or select the fish, something like that. So in here, during the tourism, if we're able to provide interaction experience for the tourists to work on some part of it, they might have a good experience. And of course, is seafood tasting. They can harvest the fish and they taste in the restaurants. Okay. So generally, mariculture tourism is a huge one, and not only in culture, but to make people more interesting, we can actually involve many aspects inside. So actually for this mariculture tourism idea, it has been exist for quite some time ago. But only lately, it has been attract the attention from many people. It has been exist since 1990 something, but nobody trying to look into that so much yet. But now it start to attract attention, and a lot of studies been conduct and evaluate the potential of mariculture tourism lately. So you can see this one is 2017. They try to put the coastal tourist interest in value-added aquaculture-based and culinary tourism opportunity, right, for coastal management. While in 2020 and the 2021's tourists towards the benefit of mariculture. So what kind of marine tourism, a case of decision making in marine tourism in Southeast Asia? These three are the very interesting papers. So if you're interested, you can download through this DOI. Yeah? And exploring the potential for marine aquaculture to contribute to ecosystem service. So this one is also part of how can we use the mariculture tourism to disseminate the awareness, and at the same time to produce seafood to cover the food demand of a human population growing. Right? So these three papers, they have put in a lot of discussions and the current status of this mariculture tourism. So this is one of the very interesting one. In Malaysia, the idea of mariculture at the moment is very popular, but there are still a lot of research ongoing to test the feasibility, and a lot of discussion actually has been going on. Design or ideas have been published by one of our researchers from Malaysia from the International Islamic University Malaysia. They have an idea to construct a sea vault, all right, offshore ecotourism aquaculture center in a pulau, means an island, all right, near to Johor, near to Singapore area. So in here, they're trying to combine the aquaculture, ecotourism, angling, food, and everything. Okay. So if you're able to this paper is free, you can download website. So in here you see they design the 3-layer sea vault, and in here there's a walkway allow the visitors to have a view on the sea view. And then in here they have a parrotfish, a sanctuary for parrotfish breeding and released to the sea. Okay, so this is interactive. And here they have the transitions place between the arrival area and the center. In here, usually the information center. And this part, they have connected cages that ease the breeding and harvesting process. And these are the sea vault. Inside, they also allow tourists to have a diving experience inside to see the submerged cage with the fish inside, right? And on top of that, they have this circulate walkway. Angler can do fishing. While at another time, they have a restaurant. Okay. Other than that, they also have automated fish breeding or fishing tank. All right. So in here, they can see aquarium fish, and at the same time, they have the touch pool, real life-size coral tanks, and everything. So still. Kids and tourists, they can have a touch on the animal and a lot of information for knowledge sharing. And this one is for nighttime. They have nighttime sea view. All right. So basically, there's a lot of things can be combined together to promote the mariculture tourism. All right, so these are the final parts. It seems like very interesting when we're putting all the aquaculture and tourism together, right? But these are the discussions by part of the EU Climate Infrastructure and Environmental Executive Agency. This one, right? They have a discussions on the aquaculture and tourism in April this year, 2021. If you want to reach this website, you can come to this address. Okay. So I have made a summarize for you. Actually, if we are trying to construct or promote or launch this aquaculture, mariculture tourism, what are the potential constraints we are going to face? All right. The first one is a visual impact of aquaculture site. So aquaculture site, unless you can design it to a very beautiful and elegant, like a hotel or something, otherwise it will be a very cages and something. So to some people, it will destroy the sea view to some people. So that's why just now for the sea vault that's been discussed, I showed you earlier, it designed in a very elegant way, but it will cost you a lot of money. Okay. So if you're doing a very simple one, it's very low cost, but it will have a visual impact, right? And then the second part is when we try to claim that particular sea area, then a lot of people cannot go through there for recreational fishing and boating because the structure there will be taking in charge all the whole area. Okay, so they will have the problem or conflict with the commoner. And then the decreased access to safe anchorage area, because if you are doing this in the middle of the sea, then there's no way out if there's anything happen. Okay, it's difficult. And then accidental damage to boat and aquaculture installations. All right, so this when we are putting in all the underwater things and everything, it can actually damage nature, or if we put wrongly, it can destroy our boat and anything else. All right. And then, of course, impact of aquaculture on water quality. When we are trying to keep a lot of fish intensively in one huge area, these fish or animals, they're going to produce waste. Okay, so this waste will actually, it's very concentrated and deteriorate the area. Okay. So finally, impact of waste on aquaculture. Not only aquaculture, but also human waste. When we are setting a very large platform in the sea, and human waste and aquaculture waste, very difficult unless we have to ship it out, or else you throw in the sea, then it will become a pollution, right? So these are the certain constraints for mariculture in tourism. So basically, in summary or conclusion, mariculture tourism is very potential. So for example, that even if you're not going to do it very largely, or you do it hatchery based or something, it is still possible as long as you create a very good program that the tourists able to have experience, learning on how the seafood will produce and the interaction experience. I think the experience is still worth it, and for the mariculture tourism. But however, if we really want to make it into a feasible one, because tourism, culturing fish or animals, producing fish, sometimes very depending on the animal itself, right? It's not that, okay, today A must be done and then B like a machine. So sometimes if every day tourist is coming in, meaning every day do you need to produce the fish every day, how do you going to manage it, right? So in order to run a proper and feasible mariculture tourism, there's a lot of research still should be conducted, all right? And also to assess the potential impact. For example, the return of investment. If you're going to produce promote the mariculture tourism, what are the costs that you need to spend, and how long you will get it in return, and will it contribute to environmental impact and other safety issues as well. Right. So these are my topics today, mariculture and tourism. I try to make it very simple, so I hope all of you can understand it. So in case you have any questions, please, you are welcome. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Lim, for the insight. And now we will go to the next agenda, that is Q&A session. And for the participant who have a question, you can use raise hand feature on the Zoom. And you may activate your microphone. Thank you.
Okay, once again, for the participant who have a question for Dr. Lim, you may use your raise hand feature on your Zoom.
Sorry, how can I open my view?
Oh, I believe you can see it when you put your, I don't know, cursor maybe to the up on your desktop, on your laptop.
Yeah, it's still in the sharing mode. I think my sharing is stopped, right?
No, we still
You still see my screen?
Yeah, we can still see your screen.
Yeah, we still see it.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Took me some time to, yeah.
It's all right. Okay, for every participant in this room who have a question for Dr. Lim, you may use your raise hand feature, or maybe you can write it on the chat box. Okay, Dr. Lim, we have one participant who.
Oh, yes, please.
Okay, maybe
Muhammad.
for Muhammad Daifan.
Yep.
Hi, Dr. Lim. It's Daifan here.
Hi, Daifan.
I'm currently doing my PhD now in tourism, so it's a very interesting topic for me. And in my previous work, I came across a lot of tourism destination which been built around the coastal area, and it's quite different from what you explaining before, because what we found from my previous work is actually most of the aquaculture is actually kind of have a conflicting interest with tourism. Like, for example, in West Coast Sumatra, there was like you said, it's famous for shrimp aquaculture and stuff. But then local people have problems with the waste and land conflict, like because they use some of the public beaches to build facilities for the aquacultures. And in other case, if you know Toba Lake, for example, they have also a problem with the aquaculture waste and the pollution to the lake. So what do you think the main important if we want to have tourism and aquaculture run together in one place? What do you think should we focus on? Whether we should focus on more on the aquaculture's management and practice than to tourism in terms of adding value to the economic value of the aquaculture?
Right. All right. Thank you, Daifan, for your questions. Yes, indeed, I agree with you. It's a very difficult part, but it seems that this is only my point of view. Probably it's not applied to all the cases, but to me, I think it is possible to be run together, but only provided with the condition that the farm itself is actually very, how to say, very systematic, and they are very huge, and they has been managed very well. So usually when there's only the small, for example, if you have a small company and something like that, sometimes the operations or the tourist visits, they actually can hamper the operation of the farm. All right. For example, you need to culture this, and you have no time for the tourists or entertain them to actually, okay, come and have my feeding. My shrimp has to be fed how many times a day, and they have to be fed accordingly at this timetable. So, but this tourism, when they come, you cannot. Oh, okay, you feed too little. So it's like you want to cater the shrimp or you want to cater the tourists. So unless you have a very good management and your company is very good, very huge, and you have two different type of team. Okay, one is very focused on the aquaculture part, while the another one is a focus on the tourism part. And then whichever that the tourists come in, they want to have a visit, they should not interrupt the process of the aquaculture operations, but they will have a operator or something that occupy or conducting the tourism to explain to them. So it's more like a field trip, and they will need a certain special area or facilities for them to have the interaction, something like that. So it actually will cost a lot of cost actually, no doubt for that. And of course, for the you mentioned just now about the public coastal area and something. I would suggest that if the company is good enough, they can actually try to involve the local community as a part of the operator or something to discuss perhaps that, for example, okay, if you have these tourists coming in like this, so some of the local people, maybe they will set out a community and you can involve them as operator to explain about the things over there. So trying to avoid involve them together and make a profit together, I think that will help. That will help for them actually. Of course, the most important thing is need to be both good for both sides. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's answering your questions.
Yeah, just to close my questions, is for a benefit of the audience here. Do you think the cross study between marine culture and aquaculture and tourism will be prospectable research in the future, both for tourism students and marine science students, in your opinion?
I believe yes. I believe because when I search through the literature review, most of the paper has been coming out quite recently in the 2020s, 2021. Although there are still not many papers, but you can see actually, you can spot a trend that actually people are discussing about this idea at the moment. And a lot of people are discussing and trying to see the feasibility or potential of this area. So I believe, yes, even in Malaysia, we do have this kind of idea. Just before the COVID hit us, there's a lot of ideas going on regarding such kind of tourism. Not only the angling, not only the fishing or many types, they're trying to combine together and try to attract, especially those interested for fishing, fishing angler. Yeah, they're trying to produce the aquaculture fish, and then they put in the pond or they put in the cage, and then they launch the fishing competition or something. So there are participants that purposely come from another country to join. Okay, so when they come from other country, then yes, it's a kind of tourism. But it depends on how we trying to operate it so that we can make it profitable. Yeah, I think that's my opinion, and it is a trend. Just before the COVID hit us, yes, it is a trend. But in the future, I'm not quite sure, but it is a potential one. Yeah.
Thank you for your answer.
Yep. Thank you, Daifan. Okay, I think we have one question here from the chat box from Caroline. Caroline, what do you think could be the first step to start with marine tourism in a country that have barely practiced it, and how to impulse it? Oh, thank you for your question, Caroline. But I think this is a very good question. It's quite difficult to what to say. Basically, why we can think about marine tourism or mariculture tourism, because mariculture itself has been exists in that country or area, all right, for some time. Okay, it's been operating and producing food and everything is already there, but it's just that there may be some people that they are interested with marine life and something, and they interested with this kind of information. But most of the time, this farm or private farm, they are not open to tourists. They are open for businessmen or something, just to trade. Right? So there's a lot of things that common people will not really know what's going on to this kind of farm, actually what's happening, unless we can see through a documentary. Therefore, here comes the idea. Since the facility, then the operation, everything, we are doing it every day. So why not, if we able the channel for people to come and visit us, what we are doing, and it can be a side income, something like that. Okay, I think that's the very first idea when it comes to this marine mariculture. But when we talk about tourism, when tourists come to visit an area, usually they expect good treatment, and perhaps many things have been well treated and everything. So for a farm operation, it's very difficult to cater this kind of requirement of the tourists. Yeah, that is why just now I mentioned to Daifan, operation should not be stopped or something. But when you have the tourists coming in, perhaps they ask for this, ask for that, and then which one you would like to cater first, unless you separate it. Okay, so back to here, to start with a marine tourism in a country, of course, we need to have the facilities and everything that built up first lah. Okay, so for example, I believe in Indonesia already have many good company, shrimp farm and everything, a very huge one, a very established one. So if they could able to stand up another unit or something that are trying to cater the promotions and then for tourists, and then to handle the tourists, and without interfering the operation of the farm, I think that is practicable at the moment. Yeah, that is what I think. Yeah. And how to impulse it? Of course, when you try to make it big and try to include more and more things, then tourists will definitely interested to visit. So for example, like the sea vault just now, it's been a very huge idea. You can fishing, you can experience, and then you can diving, you can have hotel, you can have a very nice sea view. They combine everything together. Yes, that's why it's a tourism. Yeah, in the way to impulse it, of course, to make it grand. The more grand, the better. Yeah, I think that's my idea. I hope that answer your questions, Caroline.
Yes, Professor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, is there any more questions? If there's no question from you guys, perhaps I would like to have some question to all of you. Is it okay? Oh yes, we have one more.
I think there is someone. Yeah, there is one
Okay.
more.
There's Lam Seong Hua. All right. Okay, when we are talking about mariculture, it does involve in some kind of selective breeding and production of new species through aquaculture practice. My question is, does this would contribute to a phenomenon of species invasiveness? And in your opinion, how to handle the problem if it does happen? All right. All right, thanks, Lam. This is a very good question again. Okay, because I believe I have touched on the issue about our institute has produced the hybrid grouper just now, right? So on this topic, there are two different sides. Okay, two different sides to think. As we know, all of us know that climate change is a real issue at the moment, and sea temperature, sea acidification is getting serious every day. So the new species that we have, the original species that we have in the environment, probably someday, somehow they will be wiped off because they cannot adapt to the climate change, all right? So in that case, if we able to produce species that can withstand the harsh or the harder environment, then perhaps it can become a kind of a food supply to us for human in the future. All right. So for example, I get the example as the hybrid grouper. After we're able to produce the hybrid grouper, a series of experiments has been conducted. All right. So we found that actually the hybrid grouper, we require the shorter time to grow them into the 3-inch size, very seedling like this. So for tiger grouper, we usually need maybe 4 months, 5 months to grow them into this size, and the survival is very high. But if we put this hybrid grouper, we only need about 2 to 3 months if we kept it and fed it nicely. All right. So it shortened the time. And secondly, the most important thing is this hybrid grouper we have researched and found that they can actually tolerate better than the original species under the acidification condition. If you can actually check online, there's one paper published from our institute regarding the carbon dioxide. All right, due to climate change, a lot of carbon dioxide has been released into the atmosphere, and this carbon dioxide has been resorbed into our sea, all right, and caused the ocean acidifications. So these ocean acidifications, they can slowly kill off for example, the sensory system of the fish. Nemo, probably if they cut off the nose smell part due to acidifications, the Nemo fish will not be able to to find their reef or something like that. Okay, so hybrid grouper is found that they can adapt better than the original species. All right, and they are more stronger to the resistance to disease. Okay, so from the good side of part, we have a species that is more promise for us for our future food. But of course, from another side, the conservation part of side, yes, human mistakes always happen, and hybrid species can, of course, escape. So usually to prevent this method, the hybrid species usually that we produce through artificial reproduction, we try to make it infertile, which means sterile. They cannot breed. Okay. So in Japan, they're able to produce several species of a hybrid for commercial purpose, only for commercial purpose. And all these fish, they are sterile, which means if they have been released to the natural environment, they cannot breed with the original species in the wild. So they only can stand alone until they they die off. Yeah, that's one of the prevention method lah. Yeah, I hope that answer your questions. All right, thank you. We still have 5 minutes. If anyone you have any questions, or otherwise I will ask questions for one. Thank you, Lam, for your questions. Okay, let me ask. I'm interested to know, all of you are from different countries, so maybe you can share with me if you noticed that if your country actually do have this kind of mariculture tourism yet in your knowledge. You can chat in the chat box. Yes, no, something like that. Then I will know. Or perhaps you are from what country, and then you type yes. What country? Yes. So I'm also interested to know that is this mariculture tourism is common in another country, especially in your country. Okay, is it possible? Anyone? Thank you, thank you. All right. How about Vietnam? Is Vietnam Matakana oyster farm is the famous one. Oh, are they open for tourism? Daifan?
Yes, yes. They offer a tour actually, so you can
Okay.
have a tour at the farm, and you can have oyster in there as well.
Oh, that's good. I hope one day I can visit there. Thank you, Daifan. Thank you, Long. And Peru. Okay, Peru not yet. All right. Thank you. How many countries we have in this sessions? I think Vietnam, Malaysia, New Zealand, in India, is it? 13 maybe. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, Long. Yes, I have WeChat. I can share to you later maybe. Or you can email me. Peru, no marine tourism. Yes, okay. Bangladesh. Okay, sea bass. That's good. And my grandpa has a farm of mussel and grouper. Oh, that's good. Maybe sometimes you can open for visitors and charge a little bit and get them to feed your fish. All right. That can be a kind of a simple tourism as well. Okay. All right, sure, Long. Yeah, sure. You can email me. Okay. Any more questions from the floor? Okay. Maybe I think 5 minutes is up. MC. Okay. So thank you very much.
Okay.
I pass the floor back
Thank
to
you
you.
so much, Professor Lim, for the insight. And I want to give some review from your material.
Yep.
And now we know what mariculture is, what component that include in mariculture, which like plants and animal in aquatic medium, how to choose or select a species for mariculture, the cycle, how to use mariculture, to use mariculture. And we know about mariculture tourism, the type, and especially the potential from mariculture tourism itself. And for more information, just as Professor Lim told us, maybe if you have any more questions, you can send an email to Professor Lim or send the question to your buddy group, and the buddy will provide it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lim.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, move along. That is the last lecture and also the last activity for today.